Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Well, if you weren't already agitated at one, Terrence Crawford, or at Earl Spence, well, this is just to put a little bit more fuel to the fire. It was approved, Earl Spence and Keith Thurman, by the WBA for them to fight February 23. Now, there are a lot of people who feel a kind of way about Terrence Crawford. The Terrence Crawford fans feel a kind of way about Earl Spence. But one thing we know is we're getting further and further away from Crawford and Spence getting into the ring. This is the problem we're about to run into. Okay, Crawford's about to fight in December, early December. Okay, Earl Spence and Keith Thurman, it looks like they're going to be fighting in February sometime. So that's going to put Crawford probably 2 months out the ring. Now, Crawford and Evanesian, don't really expect Crawford to take any punishment. But anything can happen. Headbutt, twisted ankle, throw his arm out of place. You know, anything can happen in boxing. Freak accidents happen. But for the most part, Crawford should be able to handle business with Evanesian. I really don't care about Evanesian coming on a six fight winning streak. I think 6 knockouts. Really don't care about that. But anything can happen in a fight, okay? So if things happen the way we expect, Crawford should get in. He should just brush Evanesian off. Then he'll be in the queue, waiting to see what's going to happen between Spence and Thurman. Now, this is the problem. Spence and Thurman, let me tell you, I've said it before, I'm going to keep saying it, right? Thurman is not an easy fight. And I will say, those first 4 rounds, it's going to be 4 to 6 rounds. It's not going to be easy for either man, right? But I'm going to say for Spence, because everybody is, for the most part, writing Keith Thurman off. Oh, his inactivity, etc., etc. He's weak to the body, etc., etc. And those are valid points, okay? I want to make sure that I'm clear when I say this. Those are valid points. But yo, let's not act like Keith one-time Thurman doesn't have a chance in any fight, okay? So this is what I'm concerned about with Thurman and Spence. As far as the fight being competitive, well, that's what you expect. You know what I'm saying? That's what you want. But my concern is somebody getting damaged in that fight, and more Spence. Right? What if Spence gets damaged? Okay, all right. It's one thing if Spence loses. Okay, then it is what it is. But let's say Spence, like most people, are of the opinion he wins, right? But let's say Spence does win that fight, but he takes some damage because Thurman can crack, and Thurman's smart. Let's say Thurman bangs him up. The fight's harder than what we anticipated, and now Spence has to heal up, whether he gets a cut, something broke, or whatever. Spence not getting back in no damn ring for like 6 months. You know, he's got to heal up and get better. So that would make him getting in a fight with Crawford. If Crawford fights in December, January, February, Spence fights in February, but he needs 6 months to heal. As 6 plus those 2 months already, that'd be 8 months of Crawford being inactive and waiting for a fight. And I'm telling you right now, Crawford is not going to sit there and go 8 months without fighting. So the further along we keep kind of kicking this down the road as far as Spence and Crawford fighting, the further we're getting from ever seeing these guys in the ring. And like I've said in other posts, the more Crawford and Spence fight tough opponents, the more of a chance one of them losing. Now, the real loser in all of this, it's not the fans. So all these people who love Bud Crawford, hold your horses. Everyone who loves Earl Spence, hold your horses. All right? What about Mantis Stanionis? That's the real loser here. Talking about someone getting done wrong. Nobody did Earl Spence wrong. Nobody did Crawford wrong. Mantis Stanionis and all those other guys who are tied up in the welterweight division, who are waiting to see what the hell is going to happen with Spence and with Crawford. All of those guys were in a holding pattern. They've been done wrong, but especially Stanionis. Stanionis was paid step-aside money, right? And then, matter of fact, he stepped aside with the guarantee of facing the winner, okay, of Ugas and Spence. Okay, so we got a winner, and they still didn't give him that fight. Said, okay, for an undisputed, whatever. Spence and Crawford couldn't work it out. Whether it's Crawford at fault, Spence at fault, one thing we do know, and this is a fact. Okay, this isn't my opinion, right? Crawford was trying to represent himself, but he had several pokers in the fire. Okay, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but you can't have talking to BLK Prime, talking to Al Heyman, talking to this guy about fight, talking to Evander Cian about a fight. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So that's why a lot of people are just really feeling like Crawford is the one who caused for all this stuff to fall apart. Now that's a fact, right? He had pokers in the fire. Another fact, okay? The guys at Showtime had several venues reserved for Spence and Crawford for the undisputed bout. Okay? That's a fact. Another fact is, because Espinoza, I tend to believe what he says, right? Now, no one knows. But even he said, like, damn, they were a little taken back that Crawford just went on and did something else without really letting them know. And when a guy like Espinoza goes on record and puts it out to the world that that's what happened, I tend to believe him. Another fact is they were planning. And see, this is where communication is key. They were planning a huge buildup to Crawford and Spence as far as advertising, promotions, people who are going to be, what's that called, man, when they come and the sponsorships, something tied in about, getting these guys to come out, maybe do a face-off during the Super Bowl. All kind of stuff was in the works. But all that went to the wayside now. Okay? But at the same time, it's one of those situations. Crawford is looking at his family, getting out here, staying active. But he says he agreed to everything, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he knew exactly what the plan was. But at the end of the day, Crawford is. I like Crawford. I like Spence, but it just seems to me that it's a serious communication breakdown somewhere, and it seems to me that Crawford wanted to go out here and fight to stay active, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't think it was because somebody was necessarily trying to string him along. I just think they had things they were working on and trying to get things in place, and maybe it wasn't fast enough for Crawford. You know, he talked about Al, talked about not hearing from Al, Al's mother being ill, Crawford taking his kids on, Spence taking the kid on vacation, birthday parties, and then they have all these. Everyone has stuff going on in their lives, right? And Crawford just kind of sitting there, and you know, he's expecting for this process to advance a lot faster than what it was. So then he says, okay, I'm just going to go out here and do this. And then all that other stuff that they were working on, he just leaves it and doing his own thing now. And then everyone here who obviously were working to make the fight happen between him and Spence, they come back to the table now and they're like, oh, damn, Crawford just took off. And I really think Crawford's inexperience in this whole negotiating thing, I think that really played a part into some I would say, inexperienced decision making on his part. Because now that you have that piece, right? Even for me, because my thing is, what's so hard to have a conversation? But at the end of the day, I do know this, and this is from my own experience. Man, when it comes to, like, I used to deal with logistics, project management, and we used to determine the funding for sending airframes off to different depot facilities that have major maintenance performed on it. Talking about millions and millions of dollars, right? And there are contracts that had to be cemented. But I was one of the guys who worked to put together those contracts. And let me tell you something. You learn quick to listen a whole lot and talk very little. Because when you say something, people take that, man, and they run with it. And if you put it in email, even if you say, hey, this is something I'm looking at, some people interpret that as gospel. So it's best to not say anything until you have something firm and you're 100% on it. And that's why on with Espinoza and the Al Heyman side, it just sounds like there was a lot going on. Maybe communication could have been better. But at the end of the day, when you're trying to plan a major promotional tour, when you're trying to plan to have these guys possibly do a face-off during the Super Bowl, advertising during the Super Bowl, you got the 3 venues, you're trying to find the best spot to host the event. You're trying to line all this stuff up, right? You can't just come out and just keep throwing random stuff at somebody. That's something where it's like, okay, when you do come to the table to really sit down and talk, you got to have things in place. And what Crawford was looking for was something definitive, an answer right now. And that's where I think there was some communication breakdown, because he felt like, well, damn, they're dragging their asses. Well, I'm going to go out here and take this fight real quick because I told them I wanted to stay active. And they're all like, well, damn, you're going to go and take that fight for 8 figures, right? Whatever. And this on this platform, okay, that whatever, okay. And instead of waiting another couple months and getting this fight for undisputed distinction, could be a whole lot more money. And so when we talk about Crawford not being a pay-per-view attraction, you talk about Earl Spence, neither one of them are Pacquiao Mayweather. But the two of them together could do 300,000 at a minimum pay-per-view or more. But at a minimum, 3 to 500. But when you start getting more pieces of information coming out, it sounds like there was definitely a plan to put the effort in to market this fight the best they can to maximize its potential, money earning potential. Okay? But it didn't get to that point. So now, with Spence fighting Thurman, right? In February, Crawford fighting in December, potential of Spence taking some damage or losing. Crawford could lose too, but more than likely, he shouldn't. But let's say Spence comes and he takes some damage. He's going to have to take some time off, okay? You're going to have to take some time off. So what's going to happen with Crawford now? Is he going to now want to fight again because he doesn't want to wait? He already had to wait 2 months. Then, they got Crawford, and then Spence, if he wins, he's going to need some time after his fight. So that's 2 plus maybe 4 to 6 months. So that's 6 to 8 months of Crawford being inactive. He's not going to want to do that. So my thing is, we're just getting further and further away from Crawford and Spence happening. Now, I understand everything that happened with Spence, with Crawford, from a couple years ago all the way up to now. I'm not here to recap all of that shit, all right? Because it's a lot. But one thing we do know is both of them have been very prideful. Both of them, I believe, want to fight. But also, I think there's a part of both of those fighters, Spence and Crawford, who feel like they don't necessarily need each other for their legacies. And as a result, ultimately, the fans suffer. It's the fans who suffer. Now, they can feel that way. They're entitled to feel that way. But I tell you what, Mayweather didn't need Pacquiao. Pacquiao didn't need Mayweather. But the fact that they got in the ring, it made it that much better. Doesn't matter if it was a little bit beyond their primes, beyond the time where that fight should have happened. The fact is it happened. And it did a lot for them, in my opinion. Crawford and Spence, the fight needs to happen. But this may be a situation where we're really going to get into something where we may not get that fight. You just may not get that fight. And it's going to suck because those guys aren't getting any younger. And they got these lions out there. And you got guys like Stanionis. You got Butev, problems. You got Virgil Ortiz. You got Ennis. You got problems out there. And they got other guys who are bubbling up. So they're going to have to figure it out. But I don't know. It's frustrating. But there have been comments left out here just about the fact that Spence and Thurman are going to be fighting in February. There have been some comments. Let's see what some people have to say about that. It's a fight I wanted since 2015. The Truth is fighting a former unified champion and a number 1 ranked mandatory opponent. The Omaha dude is fighting. Never mind. Vanessian can fight, man. He's not a bum. Y'all serious right now? Thurman's not the same fighter. Dude only fought twice in 3 years and lost to a 40-year-old Pacquiao. Hey, Pacquiao's Pacquiao. Let's ask Crawford why he's not got in the ring with either guy, and we can keep naming them. Yeah, man. So you see, everyone has an opinion. He asked for 10 mil. Bomac and Ennis said the same thing, and nobody needs Keith Thurman on their resume. Well, I don't know. I'd have to disagree with that. Keith Thurman is still a good name to get on your resume. And trust me, Keith Thurman's going to come in the ring ready to bang. He's not going to come in there trying to tickle Earl Spence. He's going to come in there looking to knock him out. Since when have you seen Keith Thurman come in a fight and not try to win, not try to knock somebody out? Even when he fought Pacquiao, he was trying to knock him out. So I can't see him getting here with Spence and not trying to get his shots off. Earl just tweeted he didn't have or know his opponent right now. Yeah. They know who it is. The crazy thing is that Crawford fans are going to find a way to argue and say that this isn't a better fight than David Venessian. Well, I mean, hey, it is what it is. So Bud fighting, I guess, an avocado for a tune-up. Spence fighting one time for his tune-up. And Crawford talking about everything being fair. You think those are comparable tune-up matches? Earl has to fight him to keep the belts and make you still want to fight him. Crazy. How did Keith move through the rankings? Some people still aren't up on Keith Thurman and the fact that he gave up a belt. He wasn't the one beat him for the belt, so he had the first right to refusal. Don't really need to see this fight. Does nothing for Earl Spence except check and a step down from his last fight. I don't know about all that, man. I don't know about all that. As a matter of fact, I think Keith Thurman will beat Ugas. That's just me. There's something right here. Someone says, I don't think Keith will step down. Keith is a bigger legacy fight than Ugas. Yeah, getting that belt was huge, but Keith only took a loss to a legend at one point. Was a top dog, so the crap about to be immaculate. Yeah. Spence, they haven't done it. Yeah, that's one thing I had to say about Spence, man. You know, he's not the kind of guy who's going to want to take an easy touch. And, you know, he's proven that, man. You know what I'm saying? He's not just coming out here looking to take an easy touch. And just for the record, I don't think Spence or Crawford are scared of each other. I just think communication is key. And then Crawford's an experience too. Kind of messed up things. But also he has a family, you know. I understand. I mean, I agree, but I understand, man. You got a family, you haven't been fighting $10 million, you know. I mean, I understand. You got to give it up to Thurman for taking tough fights. For Thurman. Man, for Spence. But Thurman, you know, he'll fight too. He'll fight anybody. It's a good fight. I know people are salty. Anyway, Thurman is a bad mofo, former champ, but Spence, I believe, is far better all around. That jab is a deadly man. And Keith eyes are going to get screwed up. I don't know, man. I think Keith gonna shock some people, man. I'm not saying he's gonna win, but I think people are gonna be surprised. I won't be, because sometimes, man, it takes something to get you up for a fight. He gets a chance to come back for 3 belts and get back to the top. He's not just gonna come in here and lay down. Thurman got 1 loss. Let's knock it off, fellas. And EJ don't like this guy. He's gonna stop Keith to the body. Gonna be a good fight. I can't wait. I guess we'll find out, right? But that being said, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I just wanted to bring that to you. Me personally, at this point in time, hey man, you know, I want to see Spence and Crawford, but I'm being real with you. I honestly don't think that fight's going to materialize, man, because they're just getting further and further down the road. And Crawford is all about his family, and he's not going to wait 8 months to fight anybody. He's going to sit there and, you know, he's already proven that he'll have multiple pokers in the fire, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he got to make money for his family. But at the same time, the big money fight, the legacy fight, and it looks like people, I don't know about Crawford's side, but people on the Spencer side, they want to try to do it the right way to maximize this money earning potential. And they may have missed a big opportunity with the Super Bowl going passing and everything else. They may have missed a huge opportunity, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if they can sort it out. But that being said, y'all be cool. Shout out to the veterans, and I'm in the breeze.